It's 1 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the benefit of those who are here, we usually start the meeting with introductions. I will start to my left.
Larry Graydon, farmer and with my family in Mount Vernon Township, Winona County.
Sheree
Hales, our farmers in Wiscoy Township.
And I'm Phil Schwantz. I'm in Mount Vernon Township and also a farmer. First thing on our agenda is to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Sheree, seconded by Larry to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, opposed. Motion has been carried. Approval of August 16, 2018 minutes. They were in the packet. I guess if you had a chance to read them.
Yes.
I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion made by Sheree.
You'll have to second it. I wasn't here.
I'll second the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes have been approved. We'll move on then to our petitions. We have our docket, Board of Adjustment 9/2018-01, to consider a petition by Jeffrey and Lisa Truax of Winona in regards to the following variance request. A variance to allow a 1-foot setback for a new structure from the side yard instead of the required 10 feet pursuant to our Winona County zoning ordinance. I guess at this time we would entertain a motion to open this up to public comment.
So move.
Motion made by Larry, seconded by Sheree. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting now is open to public comment. Is there anybody here that would?
You want to do staff presentation?
Okay, yeah. So Chuck?
Yes, this is for a setback requirement. It's fairly close with 1 foot instead of the required 10 feet. This slide is showing what it would look like if it was 10 foot and some of the things that they'd be running into is, the driveway is coming off of Highway 7 and it would be difficult to have the doors open on the new garage. There's also the tree that it would interfere with, and then it's also getting closer to the septic field. So this is showing that with it being the 10-foot setback. This is a showing of what it would look like, or the footprint of it being relatively close, or with the 1-foot setback. Some of the things that we need to consider when we're going through this is the erosion control, because it's so close to the property. We also need to know that it's going to be within the petitioner's property, and also the stormwater and during and after construction. So there'll have to be some, too many buttons, some channel here so that it would be preventing the erosion from going onto the neighbor's property and the stormwater. Any questions? Yes.
Yes, Chuck, is there a dwelling in that next lot, or has that lot been developed?
It's fairly open, isn't it?
There's a dwelling, so
Yeah, but
I'd say it's like 60 or 70 feet to the garage space on the other side. Oh, you can kind of see it in that picture there.
so down our dwellings.
Yeah.
And so there isn't, so there's a house, but there's space, is what
There
you're
is
saying?
space. But, you know, what we're trying to do is what happens on this person's property stays on his property before and after the construction.
And then another question, the drain field for this, for the Truax property is off the back of their property?
Yes, they got an easement for that, and that's, you know, it's a common occurrence when they're not
Just-
having room for the drain field, but it is an easement.
It's like a 100-year lease, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. And then what is the plan for keeping water on the Truax property?
You probably have to ask the petitioner that in more detail, but I'm trying to point out it should and needs to be staying within the property.
Thank you.
Chuck, I just have one, maybe you can answer it, maybe you can't. Under the county's recommendation for conditions, they're listing 2 parcels that should be combined into 1 parcel. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, this is 2 parcels, and he owns both of that. That line right here represents 1 parcel, and this one represents another parcel. So to eliminate the confusion and for other uses for later on, we kind of thought that this should be cleaned up and this should all be 1 parcel.
Thank you.
Well, this maybe is a petitioner question. I'll wait. Thank you.
Is that a shared driveway?
No, it is not.
Kind of looks like it on the picture.
Well, right in the beginning, but from here, you know. So, From here to here it's shared, but from here to here it's his. So,
Thank you.
So at this time, I guess I would ask if anybody wants to speak for or against this petition. And
I'll speak for it.
if you would please approach the podium and tell us your name.
My name is Jeff Truax. I'm the owner of the property, my wife. Essentially, the drainage problem or issue that came up, we would probably put a gutter on this. We assume that the truss is going to go this way towards the property. It doesn't necessarily have to. It could go the other way. But either way, we plan to put gutters on the edges of the eaves and whatnot, and then we can divert it into our property or, you know, wherever would be appropriate is something that we'd be seeking throughout the building process.
Do you intend to keep the old garage and shed there?
We do intend to. The current garage / shed is in decent shape structurally. It kind of looks bad. So we're going to, during the new construction, also put new siding on the other garage so that it looks nice with the new garage as well. We would like to keep it, to keep a boat inside there and keep a 10-foot space between the 2 garages. And then I'm going to have a garage door on the back of the new garage so that we can bring stuff through and back into the, you know, the shed, so lawn tractors and whatnot.
Right. Okay, thank you.
That's another reason we would hope to have it sort of lined up like that instead of sort of off kilter from the other garage so that we'd have an easier pull through. And
Larry, you have any concerns?
I
Questions?
got concerns. I don't have any questions right now. It just, we'll go through our criteria and see how we come out on that as far as my question.
I'm assuming that you and Chuck spoke about combining those 2 parcels into 1?
I
Or
did
is
get
that
a letter
all-
in the mail. We didn't actually talk about it. My wife and I were thinking about it. We're kind of thinking against it, though. We didn't know if it was necessary, like a requirement, though one of the reasons we were thinking not is the storage building is the old church building that in the future we plan to turn into a community art center. We want to teach classes on ceramics and glass and all that stuff there. So to have that separate from the other property, it already has its own electric facilities and whatnot. So we'd prefer to keep that separate as a business space later on in life. But if it became a requirement, we would be like, okay, fine, we'll connect those 2 together. You know, that kind of thing. So if we decided to sell in the future, One of the main reasons we almost weren't able to even purchase the property is because it had a church building on it, and the bank wouldn't finance it because there were no churches for sale. And a 500 range, 500, whatever the range is they need to get a comparable. And so the bank wouldn't finance it. They figured out it was two separate properties, and essentially they gave us the church free and clear, and we paid for the property, the parsonage of the actual house. So that being two separate properties kind of saved our butts of getting the property to begin with. So we're like, I don't know if we want to combine it really, but in case we want to sell later, it would become a problem for us.
Okay. Not everybody has a church in their yard.
Yeah, it's a sweet building. My wife's a ceramic artist, and that's the only reason we actually bought the property, and one of the reasons they almost couldn't sell it at all, because no one wanted the church. We were like, yes, awesome, great building. But, so that's where we're at on that.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't have any other further questions for you, Jeff. Thank you. I do have a question maybe for these individuals. When it's in a recommendation as one of the conditions to combine that property, is that etched in stone, or do we take that condition out of there?
You can take it under consideration. It's there because of the zoning district is CD. The minimum square footage on a buildable lot is 20,000 square feet. I believe in this case, that parcel, if you combine both parcels, it gets close to that point. But on a smaller parcel like this, you can see the difficulties. It's difficult to meet setbacks from side yard property lines. In this case, the on-site sewage treatment system is on a different property that has an easement. So as far as logistics and thinking of the long-term possibilities, it will be extremely difficult, if not impossible to create two building sites. I guess we have to look at it as though somebody would want to potentially, sell and separate the one with the storage building and try to convert that to a residential dwelling. And as far as practicality and the size, it fits better with the zoning district if they're combined to get close to that square footage requirement. Well, with that being said, obviously anything we propose can be discussed as far as what the intent and, I guess we're just looking down the road to perhaps put up a red flag that we're really dealing with just one buildable, developable lot that the board will consider whether we do that with our zoning permit. When we issue that, that's something we don't have to combine at the moment for zoning purposes.
Does the church have a septic system?
It's actually connected to the house septic system. It's not separate. That's the only thing that isn't separate. It has its own electrical, but funny enough, it shares the septic with the home.
Well, I'm assuming back in the day, the house was the parsonage
Yes.
to the church.
There's actually, it looks like, you can't see it in the picture, but there's an add-on to the back of the church that was the bathrooms, probably later on when they had plumbing installed. So, yeah, that's where it's coming from. So definitely an afterthought.
So, out of curiosity, I'm going to go back to you, Eric. If long-range plans are to turn the church into something like an educational thing for art, is that need to be rezoned?
No, CD, community development, is a mixed use for the maximum flexibility of both residential and real light commercial uses. So the zoning district designation would tend to support something like the applicant has mentioned as far as proposed use.
Good to know for future.
The worst case scenario for something like that is it may require a conditional use permit, especially if you're going to have groups, if there's any commercial where they're collecting money or for profit. We want to get into maybe signage and parking and lighting and hours. That would be discussed by the planning commission and ultimately the county board if a proposed use of that nature rose to that level.
Okay, I guess I'm still in a gray area on whether we have to combine the two lots. I understand what it sounds like it would be good. Does it help them down the road if they decide they want to turn that into a educational facility?
It's a use for a building. It's compatible that way. I'm just saying from a zoning perspective, if a situation proposes where there are two separate entities, two separate ownerships, I see that being a further conflict as far as uses and size, allotments and things of that nature.
Mr. Chairman? In my opinion, it doesn't make any sense for it to be separate. It makes sense to be one, and there'd be potential headaches down the road. If I was to vote to support this, I would insist that it's one parcel. That's my thought.
Sheree, any thoughts on that? Or
Well, we should see if there's others that have input, I suppose.
We're not against it. It was just a thought that came up and we're like, well, we don't know. Who knows? What's the benefit or not benefit of it? So we just didn't have enough information to.
it sounds like the county would have a higher level of comfortability if the two were put together.
Sure.
And if there's no debt against that one,
Right.
from your lender standpoint,
Should be easy. I'm not sure. There's probably some paperwork I fill out and go to more meetings or.
It'd probably be a quick claim deed, I suppose.
Not even that, I believe the auditor's office downstairs would just have a form where they can combine parcel numbers to combine it as well.
Seems easy enough. So, yeah, we're for it. Yeah, it's definitely beneficial.
okay? Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against this petition? It was brought to my attention that the young lady that's attending in the crowd is the owner of the property next to Jeffrey. And she said she really didn't want to publicly speak, so I don't know if I should speak for her, but
Should I sign in and come up?
yes, please do. That would make life a lot easier for me.
It's a pretty small audience. And we're friendly.
He said I wasn't really.
Speaking of friendly, were you here for the nice meeting at 10
No.
o'clock? You didn't come to that?
I didn't go to that. So if you would just tell us your name.
My name is Jane Gunderson, and my husband and I owned the property next door. It was the old Pickwick Schoolhouse. We bought it in 1999 or 98, something like that. And so with that there, the schoolhouse was there. A man before us was starting to remodel it. He put an apartment in the front of the old schoolhouse. He added a shed in the back where my husband had a tool and die shop there. And Jeff and his wife moved in, how many years ago? 9, 10 years ago. Anyway, and we have had no problems. Very good neighbors. Even before this meeting, he came and he asked about if there was any problems about adding this garage in front of his other garage. It would be on the straight line, like it says there, the beginning of the driveway, even though it's partly his. My husband had shared a little bit. When they put the new road in, there was another access into our building because if anybody else, that's what you see here. This here part here, I think, is kind of his, and this is where they put the new road in so we could come around to our property here. And with that, we have no problems with the next door neighbors. Thank you.
You did just fine, thank you.
Yeah, you did.
Thank you.
So I believe I have to call one more time. Is there anybody that would like to speak for or against this petition? Seeing none and hearing none,
I move the public thing close the petition.
motion has been made to
Public comment.
close public comment.
Second.
Seconded by Cherie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Now we gotta do our criteria, I suppose, so.
Would be a good thing. There's questions that the county provides the board with and we usually go through those to see if it passes or fails. The first question is, the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of the ordinance.
Yes.
And I believe it is.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
The variance request is consistent with the comp plan.
Seems to be.
I would tend to agree.
Yeah.
Has the applicant established that there are practical difficulties in complying with the official control and purpose to use the property in a reasonable manner?
Yes.
I'm not sure on that one.
Would you like to expound on that, or just that's the comment?
Well, the staff analysis, the petitioners have provided additional rationale relating to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property, such as the location of the septic field and the tree. Well, for the purpose of others that are here, this board deals a lot with septic systems and ones that have failed, and where do you put the other one, and you folks get along good, and you folks have no problems right now, but when we're all gone, there could be issues, and septic could be one of them. So that's my concern on that, number 3. Why don't we come back to that one?
Sure. The variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property, not created by the owners of the property since the enactment of the ordinance. And I would say that yes to that, given the time frame of when you've owned it for approximately 10 years. The comp plan was passed 5 years ago.
Had one since 1970.
Right, but that didn't address the size of lots and stuff, did they?
It did, but these lots existed prior to the inaction of ordinance.
Okay.
And comp plans that we have enacted to.
Well, the access to the septic is another issue that could be a problem. Could somebody point on there where the septic is now exactly?
It's that,
The orange block? Okay.
Blue is the drain field. Way
Yeah.
to the-
That's the septic.
That's a septic tank. This is your drain field.
And whose property does the drain field, is that the gal that spoke? Is that her property?
His property. It's an easement, correct?
It's an easement.
An easement from
a neighbor.
a different person, right? Okay. So, does that mean there's no place on this property for a drain field, that they had to go there eventually, or?
I do not know that. I do not know that. My assumption would be that it was, the church, and there were probably some parishioner of the church, and they let them do that. But I do not know if or where there's another drain field, but I think that was probably the most convenient place to put it.
Okay.
Can I mention something here? I don't know how long you've been on the board now, but years ago, back on the area, going to the left there, that was all maybe farmland or I don't know. But then Kevin Larson, anyway, came in and put houses, and it's what do you call it? Cul-de-sac back there. So you're dealing with those houses back there that come around, and maybe I'm causing trouble, I don't know, but all those houses, are around back there, and that's why where his land is, you drive in there, and then there's a house that starts there, and I suppose that's why when you see that and wondering, that's probably why the easement was given, because of how all those new houses, I think there's, about 8 houses back in that area. I don't know if it's called KC, or what is it called back there? Anyway, it was a new development back there in Pickwick back, I don't know, 8 years ago, something. I don't remember when they did it back, but that's what you're dealing with back in there.
Thank you.
Move on to 5.
Number 5?
Sure.
Variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity.
I would agree with that.
I would too.
Yeah, that's fine.
Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. I don't believe it was mentioned.
I agree.
The variance cannot be alleviated by reasonable method other than a variance and is the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty.
I got trouble with that one. You want me to expand on that?
Sure.
The, two things. 12 inches is not enough if somebody wanted to paint or reside or fix your shed or set up a ladder. I would say there's got to be, could be a problem or would be a problem eventually going forward. And I could look at that and I could say you could conceivably remove the 2 older buildings in the back and make your shed longer and keep it 10 feet away and you wouldn't need us. You could make the shed longer and a little bit narrower. So that would be a way to alleviate the petition on number 7 without having a variance. So that would be one thought I would have on that issue. But if I used to have a good friend in the fire department, and there can be issues with such a small, and a roof. I've had enough eave spouts to know that they freeze up and they do this and that, and there's ice that comes off, and it just is a problem waiting to happen. And I wish everybody all the rights of their property, but I can't support this petition for those reasons. But there's 3 of us, so.
Sure. Sure.
One of the things that came up, as
Sir,
far
could you
as,
go to the podium, please? Because we're recording. Thank you.
One of the things that came up with that, with the design idea and getting rid of the existing garage as well, is there's also a 30-foot setback that we have to abide by from the backyard. So the new garage is actually starting at the 30-foot setback mark. We're only asking for the side yard. So realistically, we couldn't get rid of the backyard and go longer and skinnier without a variance as well, unless we pushed it further past where we would like to put it currently. Out towards the driveway, I guess that's a possibility. Though, yes, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I guess, Eric, that is, you want to confirm that?
Yeah, the zoning district CD would require a 30-foot rear yard property line, so in this case, a 30-foot setback applies from the eastern property line. The existing structure existed prior to zoning, so it's essentially real close to the rear yard and real close to a side yard.
Well, I think Larry's concerns are warranted, but in the situation, I don't foresee in the, and my crystal ball isn't that good, but that the neighboring property would have to abide by a 10-foot setback if they wanted to build next to that property line. You know what I'm saying?
So.
If you're
No, I'm
concerned
not
about,
sure.
well, I mean, I understand, why these setbacks come about, I mean, especially for fire protection, but what I'm saying is if the neighboring property is sold to somebody else, and they decide they want to build next to that property line, they would have to abide by the 10-foot setback.
Unless they ask for a variance.
Right, and in that situation, it would just be me, if I was on the board, I would deny it because you can't get them two buildings that close together.
Well, exactly. So we're favoring one over another in that case?
Well, I'm not, I guess I'm just looking at the situation at hand right now that,
I'd be more comfortable with, and this is off record maybe, or off the subject, but I'd be more comfortable with granting an easement for more, or close 10 feet from the back instead of 30, and keep the 10 feet on the side, and then, you know, he'd have the room for a square footage on his shed, and everybody'd have 10 feet. I'm not sure why the back is different, but I assume that's the zoning thing. That's 30 and the side is 10. But that's not what we're supposed to be dealing with today, I guess, so.
I mean,
Could we have the picture up there that has the actual proposal, not the alternate? Yeah, thank you. Just, since we keep looking at it, we may as well look at what we're dealing with here. Thank you.
but by moving it over, Larry, you're also gonna
Well, you
impede
could make
upon.
it, you could make it narrower and longer, is all I'm saying.
We're not against that, by the way. Definitely not against that. Just, you know, the 1 foot was more or less an idea. We have some play to deal with there within a few feet. So we're definitely flexible there. I was shooting for worst case scenario. I know a foot's not much, and even the eave on the garage would probably beat that or more. So to have it in a few more feet would be fine with us. That's more for the slab that we would like to put down for the garage. We can move the garage around anywhere on the slab.
Because the slab was 24 feet wide and the building is 22, is that correct?
Correct. I wanted a little space around the slab for a walkway on one side or the other, so we can move the garage any direction on the slab. Within a couple, 2-3 feet, I'd be totally fine. 10 was kind of just pushing it, you know, a little bit too far.
Eric, what is the setback for a garage from the septic?
10 feet for typically an accessory structure. In some cases, we can administratively approve closer based on topography and the use of the structure, especially on farmsteads or ag buildings or non-habitable structures. 10 foot is the baseline, and we try to require structures to be from septic tanks and treatment areas.
Okay, thank you. So, I guess my take on it would be that it makes more sense to be closer to the property line, to do the 1 foot, because it leaves a more leeway in case the septic ever needs to be addressed. Otherwise, you've taken up more of that space that you might need if the tank needed to be replaced or expanded. There's not a lot of space on this parcel. And given that it is mimicking what already exists there, and it, I presume existed when you bought the property, it does make sense to me to go with that 1 foot variance, particularly since the neighbor seems comfortable with it, and that might have to be written in if that property were to change hands or something, just so the new people would know. I don't know exactly how that works. So I guess I would support this.
It seems like there's how wide is the garage proposed?
About 24 feet.
24 feet? It looks like it's 20 feet to the edge of the septic for sure, right now.
Don't we have a map with that? Or is that, we don't.
We have this.
Well, according to this, it would be 20 feet. If they move this over 10 feet, they're saying we got 10 feet here, so we'll shove
But
this.
that's the other one that's not this.
Phil, this one.
If we went with the
Yeah,
one,
20
we'd
feet.
have 20 feet to the side.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's right. So it's at least 20 feet.
So here it is now. My concern would be, I understand what you're saying there, if we move this over 5 feet, but then we're gonna be encroaching upon that tree again. Too.
You know, I love trees, but the tree is not the most important thing here.
I agree.
Chair?
Always plant another one.
Yes, maybe for the sake of moving your discussion there, when following the applicant's site plan, the pad is 24 by 36, with the new garage being 22 by 31, and that's observing a 1-foot setback. The setback is measured from the foundation of a structure. So, if I'm following this right, that's where you might want to get some feedback from the applicant. I think you might be all right to, if you could basically allow a 3-foot setback, and that would probably accomplish his plan, and that would give you at least a 3-foot setback from that structure to that property line, and that may be more amenable for maintenance issues and for access from the property line. So if I look at the letter of the code, letter of the law of the code is from the foundation. So 1 foot may not be the minimum in this case. If I'm following the intentions of the site plan, it might be a 3-foot would allow that to be accomplished.
But now, on that same thing, the 1 foot, where was the 1 foot being measured from? The cement slab?
Right.
The edge of the cement slab?
Yeah, the slab itself. I'm not sure if I needed the variance for the slab or the structure. Structure.
So the structure technically could be,
Moved over 3 feet on the slab is what he's saying.
but that would give you a 4 foot. Because the slab is a foot away from the thing already.
Right.
Okay, would,
But from the standpoint of any overflow of gutters, you know, that slab is impervious surface. You've got then, 1 foot gravel or swale to try to pull water, off or to absorb the thing going over the down or over the guttering. That is not wide enough to really accomplish that. And if the overhang should not go to the property line, including the gutters, I feel like that's a little tight. The 1 foot.
With the 1 foot. But if we would,
As Chuck pointed out about maybe a gravel, conveyance for water, storm water, so it doesn't go on the other property in addition to the gutters or downspouts, maybe taking the bulk of it toward the house. Just wanted to point that out. Pretty tough to hire or to put, a landscape swale to grab that water in a foot. It's just gonna be kind of hard to do that.
so I'm looking for some direction here. Are we going to request a 3 foot setback from the foundation of the building or a 4 foot setback from the foundation of the building?
Can we change it like that? Is that okay? Yeah, I would say I'd be comfortable with 4 foot, but I couldn't vote for anything less than that. That's my take.
So just so I'm on the same page there, you're talking 4 foot from the foundation of the building, which means if he has 12-inch overhangs, they're still 3 foot off the property line.
Right. That, if you're gonna put a little berm or divert water or have grassy area, you need 3 feet. I'm sorry, you just do, and set up a ladder and whatever. I like the 10 foot, but in this case, if the petitioner can get by with 4, I could live with that. I could support that.
Cherie?
okay.
Boy, you guys are making my first day here tough, aren't you? I'm going to go on to question number 8. Let's go through the request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation or permit standards lower than those required by the state law.
That's a non-issue.
Okay. The conditions that also, I'm going to read those at this time, that are recommended by the county for the board to consider. The owners of the property to which the variance is issued will abide by all representations and comments made during the permitting process. Commitments made during the permitting process as well as before the Board of Adjustment in accordance with all conditions to the variance. Number 2, the petitioners obtain the required development certificate and comply with all relevant regulations and standards of Winona County and the state of Minnesota, to include meeting the state electrical code and obtaining required permit and inspection if applicable. Number 3, the property shall be staked out prior to construction, and the structure shall not infringe into the 1-foot setback, which right now we are thinking that's going to turn into 4 feet, correct?
Well, that's what we've been talking about, yeah.
Number 4, parcels 6.00.3780 and parcel 6.00.3770 shall be combined into one parcel. Number 5, the additional stormwater created by impervious surface of the garage shall stay on the petitioner's property.
That's the big one.
And that's the one that is generating the discussion for just a little bit.
It's possible with the to do that.
It would be difficult. So now I'm looking for some direction on how do we change the 1-foot setback.
Well, we just amend our approval to, say, 4 foot.
So do we just amend the condition?
You can do it as a single motion if you wanted to. If your intention will be to approve the findings as presented with the modification to a 4-foot setback, the motion could be to approve as presented with the variance for a 4-foot setback and amending the related conditions to a 4-foot setback. Moving both changes at the same time.
Legal jargon. Okay, so
I'll make a motion that we approve the petition or grant the petition with a 4-foot setback and not a 1 foot, and all the other things you just read that the staff prepared.
So just to make sure we're all on the same page, number 3, the 1-foot setback would be changed to a 4-foot
There you
setback.
go. That's a good way to do it.
You understand that, Sheree?
Yes, I do.
Is it 4 foot from the slab or from the property line?
Foundation of foundation.
Foundation to property line.
Foundation to property line, right?
Talking about the setback for the slab, though, not the structure itself.
Right. The foundation is what we're talking about. That's what my motion would have, 4 foot of
The building structure.
the slab, the foundation for the building. Whether they stick it out there or whether they put it right, and that's up to them, but there needs to be 4 foot setback from anything to the property line. Are we clear on that, Sheree?
Yep.
Okay.
The concrete pad could extend closer. I guess the way that I was understanding it is just the foundation of the garage itself, wherever the wall or column would be constructed.
Yeah, I'm on his
would have to be a
page.
4-foot setback.
Yeah, because I think Larry's talking that he wants 4 feet of pervious surface instead of a slab with, he wants that whole 4 feet to not have any slab in there, is my understanding.
That's not a foundation for the building anyway. If they want to pour a sidewalk, I guess that's another question for other people, but
By defining it as a setback, it will be measured from the foundation of the building, not related to the slab.
okay.
So we're still happy with 4 feet?
Yeah, that's right. Maybe they want a nice sidewalk, I don't know.
I mean, if the building, the wall, the 4 feet from the building wall, right? Right. I mean, that's fine. Either way, I'm fine to have gravel or grass or whatever 4 feet from the line. It's okay with me. Just the 10 was pushing it a little far, so I'm totally cool with it.
Maybe you'd take 5. I'd like 5 even better.
We're not starting it all over again, Larry.
Mr. Chair,
Do you second Larry's 4-foot
I do.
setback? Motion been made by Larry, seconded by Cherie to change the 1-foot setback to a 4-foot setback. All in favor, say aye.
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 And all the other things that the staff had, that you read, you know.
The motion was to approve it, just changing that to a 4-foot.
Now I need a motion to approve or
That
disapprove.
was the motion to approve. It was the motion to approve the findings with the conditions of the modification to the.
Okay.
So it's all done in one shot.
So then I guess I'm at the stage where we,
All in favor, say aye. Do we do that?
is that a motion or how does that to approve or disapprove?
It's all in favor.
All in favor for approval?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, your variance has been approved with a 4-foot setback.
I need to read this.
Board of Adjustment, appeal to district court. All decisions by the Board of Adjustment in granting variances or in hearing appeals from any administrative order, requirement, decision, or determination shall be final, except that any aggrieved person or persons or any department, board, or commission of jurisdiction or of the state shall have the right to appeal within 30 days after receipt of notice of the decision to the district court in the county in which the land is located on questions of law and fact. Any party that would like to submit an appeal to the decision rendered at the public hearing must do so to the district court. Planning and Environmental Services is not responsible for filing the appeal or obtaining representation by counsel for the petitioner. Winona County Court Administration. Is this yours or was that mine? I adjourn the meeting.
We should vote.
We have a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Motion been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.